and I am delighted to be your host for today's webinar. I am a branding and communications professional. I add long-term value to the bottom line of brands through public relations, marketing, and brand management. I am truly excited to be here today with all of you as we delve into the topic, how to grow, how to scale your PR business, how to start, grow, and scale your PR business. Welcome everyone once again. This session promises to be informative and engaging. As I've said earlier, feel free to begin to engage in the comment section. When it's time for questions as well, we would like that you introduce yourself, let us know where you are joining us from, and then you go into your question. So during our time together here, we would look into the intricacies of establishing a strong foundation for your PR business, nurturing its growth with strategic expertise. We will be looking at harnessing the power of PR to scale brands to unprecedented heights. We would uncover the secrets of industry titans who have successfully traversed these paths, the invaluable lessons that they learned along the way, and the cutting-edge strategies they employed to stand out in a competitive landscape. You see, I encourage you today to actively participate, ask questions, and share your thoughts throughout the session. The webinar is designed to be interactive, and I'm eager to hear your perspectives and insights as well. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guest speakers on this call, who I would introduce shortly. Their expertise and unique perspectives will enrich our discussion today. Before we get started, I want to ensure that everyone is familiar with the webinar platform. Please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the chat feature. It will be our primary means of communication today. Continue introducing yourself and engaging with one another. I also want to express gratitude to every one of us on this call today. Your presence here is a testament to your commitment to continuous learning and to your professional growth. We celebrate you. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar is brought to you by Nigerian Women in PR in collaboration with Africa Communications Week. Nigerian Women in PR is an impact association set up to advocate for and provide growth resources to Nigerian women working in PR and comms. Africa Communications Week 2023 is the premier gathering of Africa-focused communications professionals, and this year's edition is taking place from 22nd to 26th of May. It is focused on highlighting the opportunities and the value creation that cross-border collaborations can bring. During this period, individuals and PR organizations have the opportunity to plan and execute events, such as the one in which you are listening to this afternoon, and under the umbrella of the African Communications Week. So we would like to also say thank you to the African Communications Week for this beautiful opportunity and the collaboration that they also bring to the table. Because it is in this same spirit that the Nigerian Women in PR collaborated with them to drive conversations around starting, building, and scaling a successful PR business. Because when it comes to collaboration and partnerships, especially expansion across Africa, the role that partnership brings to the table is a huge one. And that's why it is encouraged that we continuously scale across board. I want you to consider today's webinar as a tell-it-all conversation and storytelling around the principles of PR, the good, the bad, and the lessons that have been learned along the way. We hope that through this webinar, you will glean practical tips and actionable insights that will equip you with the tools necessary to navigate the challenges and seize the opportunities that lie ahead. Prepare to be inspired as we cover the essential building blocks that lay the foundation for your own success story. With me on this webinar today are two renowned PR veterans who have made indelible contributions to the field of PR and have paved the way for countless professionals. Our first speaker for today is Dr. Yetty. Dr. Yetty Oyinlola Ogunnubi, fondly called Yetty. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Yetty Limited and founder and lead publicist at the Yetty company. With over 19 years of experience in the public relations and brand management space, she is a leading professional in the fashion, arts, and corporate affairs industry. With experience spanning PR, marketing, creative image branding, and project and events management. Over the years, Dr. Yetty has managed publicity projects for SMEs, corporate businesses, and governments. And she has led fashion and corporate exhibitions, creative events, and press conferences, as well as promoted emerging and established brands. Dr. Yetty was born in Lagos to a family of artists. Her parents are well-known exterior decorators and artists, known as Nata in Nigeria, and they have their works. They have their works on several monumental buildings across the country. Dr. Yetty spent her early years in both Lagos State and Osun State before moving to the United Kingdom. While having a fulfilling time in her career as a fashion entrepreneur in London, she contributed as a writer and editor for top fashion magazines in the UK before becoming a fashion editor for the Isaac Outlook magazine, an exclusive lifestyle magazine. Yetty's creativity has no bounds. Her illustrations have been used as covers for books, products, and several art projects. In 2012, she co-produced for Uber Africa Unmasked UK, a reality TV show set to find the next best African-inspired designer. In 2014, she went on to become the communications director for Africa Fashion Week London and Nigeria. After people started approaching her for PR and branding jobs, she proceeded to establish a PR agency, Yetty, in 2016. Furthermore, Yetty is a trusted director for LOE Foundation of the LOE Awards and BOT for the PLCEW by Pride magazine. She serves as a mentor for several programs, including the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, a US Consulate in Nigeria program. She was awarded the Pride of Africa Award at the 2018 PFW Africa events, and she also received an award as the former PR Person of the Year in 2018. She's passionate about mentoring youth and young aspiring professionals in both the fashion and corporate world through the Yetty Foundation. With her wealth of experience and knowledge, Yetty believes in inspiring and impacting others to succeed in their endeavors. Can we give a round of applause to our outstanding speaker for today, one of our speakers, Dr. Yetty? I want to see your emojis. Are you excited? Are you excited? I want to see your emojis. I want to see your excitement. Thank you very much. Thank you. Joining us alongside Dr. Yetty is our second esteemed speaker, Sename. Sename is an Accra-based fashion PR specialist, fashion writer, and founder of April Public Relations. She has a combined experience of 10 years of acquired knowledge and skills from diverse fields of work in the areas of public relations and strategic communication, projects and events management, customer relations, brand marketing, and social media management. Our agency, April PR, was established in 2010 with special interest in PR for fashion, beauty, and lifestyle brands. Since starting out, she has spearheaded successful PR campaigns for businesses and consulted on strategy, media relations, and brand communications, all geared towards garnering the right attention, trust, and improving relationships with key stakeholders. Clients she has handled PR for include Odubil Jensen, Selina Beb, Ghana Menswear Week, formerly Accra Men's Fashion Week, Osman Shoes, Pure Persona by Nana, amongst others. Prior to fully running a PR firm in 2018, she worked with Global Media Alliance as an account manager for Unilever, where she worked on the relaunch of Vaseline beauty products on the Ghanaian market. She also managed other accounts, including Diamond Cements, Huawei, FHI 360 learning projects, and World Oral Health Day projects. Faith was awarded 40 under 40 achiever in the communications category in 2020, named among 50 inspiring women in PR by her network in 2022, and has 250 plus articles published in her name. She is also the founder of Women in PR Ghana, a not-for-profit organization which provides opportunities for career advancement, mentorship, networking, and leadership for young women studying and practicing public relations. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Let's say hi to Sename. Let me see our reactions. Are we excited? Our two speakers are so outstanding. They've come here with a lot of information, knowledge, practical tips that would also enable us launch into our own PR agencies and ultimately succeed. So today, both Dr. Yetty and Faith will be sharing their invaluable knowledge, experiences, and insights with us. They will be shedding light on the ever-evolving world of public relations and how they've navigated it over the years. Their perspectives will provide us with a wealth of actionable strategies and innovative ideas to navigate the PR landscape, especially in an era which has been defined by technological advancements and shifting communication dynamics. We're so excited to hear from them. Please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome once again to our esteemed PR veterans, Dr. Yetty and Faith Sename. We are truly privileged to have them as our esteemed speakers, and we eagerly await the wisdom they will impart upon us today. Just before we get right into it, you know, there's a unifying factor about the three of us today. Those are the two speakers and myself. We are all premium members and partners of Nigerian Women in PR. You know, being a premium member of Nigerian Women in PR, it grants you access to information, it grants you access to a wealth of knowledge in PR landscape. It basically just, you know, continues to open doors for you. So I urge you today, everyone on this call, you need to be a premium member of Nigerian Women in PR. How to get started? You can just signify on the chat section to say, I would love to become a member today, and somebody will attend to you. You can also visit the Instagram handle of Nigerian Women in PR at Nigerian Women in PR, send them a DM and become a premium member today. As we begin to share nuggets in PR and ask our speakers question, the hashtag for this webinar is PRBiz webinar, hashtag PRBiz, B-I-Z webinar. You would find all of that information in the chat section. Feel free to post on your social media and tag Nigerian Women in PR, Africa Comes Week, hashtag PRBiz webinar. Also, feel free to post on your LinkedIn and also engage as we move on. You are welcome once again. Without further ado, we go right into it. And my first question for Dr. Yetty would be to say, you know, I mean, when it comes to starting a PR business in Nigeria, Dr. Yetty, for your own self personally, I would like to ask to say, what's inspired you to start your PR business? I mean, where did the inspiration come from? Because did you like attend an event, or did you dream? I mean, some people sleep and they say they saw something in their sleep that gave them that nudge. At what point did that inspiration start coming for you to start your own PR business? We'd love to hear from you, Dr. Yetty. Thank you. Dr. Yetty? Hi, Dr. Yetty. Dr. Yetty, are you saying something? Because okay, hello, Faith.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So maybe you can go with that question while we wait for Dr. Yetty to come back online. Okay.
Okay. For me, I don't think it was, I didn't have any aha moments or a dream or anything. I think for me, it was more of graduating from university and asking myself, what would I do? How would I make a difference? Because I look at all my classmates and I'm asking myself, you're all going to look for the same jobs. So at the end of the day, what would make in the next couple of years, what would I do that I would find fulfilling or satisfying? And right from school, I remember somewhere around 2011, I had thought about the idea of starting my company, even though at the time I was clueless. I had no clue or no idea how to go about it. But all I knew was that I was going to do something for myself, by myself. And that was how it started. It wasn't, I just told myself I wanted to do something different. And also I had looked around at the time and I noticed that in my quest to do something for myself, I realized that it wasn't also something that people were doing, or there wasn't a company around that was doing what I wanted to do, because I was in the process of thinking about what I wanted to do. I noticed I was researching, and in my research, and I discovered there was a profession called fashion PR. And in my research, I also found out that there wasn't really a company here that was doing fashion PR, because if there was, maybe I would have gone to work there, and maybe I wouldn't have even conceived this dream or this idea of starting a company. But when I looked around, there wasn't any company that was doing that. And I was really excited that I discovered something like that I wanted to do. So it was based on that I decided to start or to launch my PR company. So that was pretty much about it.
Amazing. That's so interesting, especially because, I mean, your own inspiration came from wanting to start something new. And so also when you discovered that there was no other organization doing what you were doing, the fear part, did it not come to you? How did you conquer, I mean, the courage to just go for it headlong, even at that?
Oh yes, there was a huge fear. I still have fears. I was really scared. Because I mean, a degree alone just to start a company, financial resources. I was working at the time. I was working as a cashier whilst I was in school. So I was schooling and working at the same time. So maybe financial, I had a little money. It wasn't too much though, but I just knew I wasn't ready to fully start a company, because there were two big companies that I knew about. Was Stratcom Africa and the Global Media Alliance. I sent CVs to some of them. Obviously, nobody was paying attention to me. Who is this cashier who wants to come and work as a PR person? So I had my fears. I knew that I wasn't really experienced. I didn't have work experience in any way. So how was I going to do that? And so I did have my fears. And as a way, I decided that I wanted to start small. Instead of going all out, I wasn't in a hurry to start. And that's how I do my things. I take my time to do things. I don't rush at all. So one of the things I wanted to do was, I said, okay, for me to gain experience and start building something for myself and get recognized, then let me start with offering pro bono. So I identified some friends and I approached them to do PR for them for free. I wasn't paid, and for me, it didn't matter. And my first thing was to get a friend who was a designer at the time, and told him that let's work together on a collection. Let me put together a press release for you. Let's organize a photo shoot and everything. And I did that, and I sent it out randomly to an editor, and it got published. And I was so happy, because at that time, I didn't even expect that I would get my story published, even though I was trying. So for me, it was more of, let me start small. Let me move it one step at a time. Let me do it, even if I'm not being paid. I just need the experience. I need to have something to show before I even start approaching clients. And that was how I overcame sort of my fears. And then I started small, and then little by little, I started moving up.
Exciting. That's so interesting to hear. And I mean, there's a lot of lessons that we could learn from your this story. You had the courage to go for it. You decided to start small. taking little steps, and then you are building up on that, and then you are where you are today. I also like the part whereby you offered pro bono PR services to friends. Just to ensure that you are also able to test yourself and you, have a portfolio of work so that when opportunities come, they actually meet you prepared. I hope that we are all learning and gleaning from the conversations that just started. Thank you so much, Faith. Dr. Yetty is back with us. Dr. Yetty, what would you say inspired you to start your PR career, your PR journey, the business of PR?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so sorry. As you know, internet in Nigeria can be problematic. My journey to PR is something I stumbled upon. I used to live in the UK. I owned a fashion label that was doing very well. I was everything to the fashion label. I was a designer. I was the marketing person. I was the fashion buyer. I was my website designer. I learned a lot from doing that. And in the space of doing that, I also worked on a project called Uber Africa. Uber Africa was a platform to discover fashion designers in the diaspora, to give them a platform. And I came on board as a producer. Then we had hired a PR and to manage, this is back in London, to manage the whole affairs, and she more or less messed up. So because I'm a hands-on person anyway, and I'm good in writing, creativity is my terrain. So I put a lot into that, started working on the PR process for, press releases. Then I got to work with Africa Fashion Week London whilst on that project. A year later, I moved back to Nigeria. And one of the first people I saw, I stumbled onto her quite a number of times. That's the Olori Ronke Ademluyi, who is the founder of Africa Fashion Week London and Nigeria. And she kept, each time I saw her, she would say, Yetty, come on board as my communications director. I'm like, I don't think I've not been to Nigeria for 16 years. So I don't know anyone in Nigeria. More or less, the second time, the third time she sent me an email. She was back in London, said, Yetty, we're having conversation and your name keeps popping up. Can you just do this? Even if it's for a year, have a trial if you can do it. And I took on that role as a communications director for Nigeria. Then, it was a success. I had to build a lot of relationship around that time. Then I became communications director for the London edition as well. Mind you, I did everything, all the communications for the UK. In Nigeria, everybody thought I was back in London, but everything was done from Nigeria. Three seasons afterwards, a lot of people then started, coming to me, brands started to come to me to help them shape, their brand. So that would be, I would say that's how Yetty started, was called Yetty Agency. It was more like, because I enjoy doing it and I know the challenges business owners face, especially in the fashion terrain, because I started off as a fashion designer myself. So it sort of gave me like an insight to what issues they need solving, from the branding to the communications aspect. We started with 2 or 3 clients. I started with one founding team, Sheyi Amaho, who is doing big as well right now. So as time kept coming, we started expanding. So it wasn't like I had a whole lot of money somewhere. In fact, my first office started maybe 5 months after we started Yetty, and it was in my friend's boys' quarter that I turned into an office space. So that would be my journey to PR. My journey and my interest in PR is because, I'm a business itself, I know the challenges that a lot of businesses face. Then in PR itself, a lot of people have to have a whole lot of money for you to engage a PR person to start as a startup or SME. So my passion in the PR world is to solve these problems and bridge the gap and more or less give people an insight to what can be done and see how they can leverage on the relationship that they have. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And that's really what struck me. People leveraging on the relationships that they have. I mean, for the relationship that you had back then and how you kept being pushed towards becoming a comms director. I mean, someone already saw it in you, even when you probably were not sure, and they were giving you that nod in that direction, that just come be our comms director. Because a lot of people get that opportunity today and they be like, I'm not sure I can do it. But similar to Faith, you also just went for it and you leverage on the existing skills that you had as a business owner. I mean, it just goes to say that while starting a PR business, there are some skills that we already have that comes to the table and that we can use to now build a PR business. So I also enjoyed the bit where you said that you turned the boys' quarter of your friend's house to your first office. I mean, it just goes to say that where there is a will, there is a way. And so in starting a PR business, we don't necessarily have to have all of the millions in the world. And that's really what we're all going to be looking at again today. I would just want to ask you again, Dr. Yetty, to say that as you continue to navigate that terrain, so what challenges did you face? You personally, you were coming from some sort of experience that you had, especially with writing and with the kind of confidence that people already had in you. It encouraged you to just keep going for it. But as you continue to start and build, what are some of the challenges that you faced in starting your own PR business?
I think for me, the good thing about me was I didn't just start. I started with a big platform that made me build a lot of relationship. So in terms of the media space, Africa Fashion Week gave me a soft landing to, even though nobody passed on anything to me, it was a relationship I built. It was more or less, the stumbling block would have been, gaining people's trust. The media space is all about trust and relationship, especially when you're trying to build somebody's brand that maybe somehow the people that have handled the brand before had done some damages, right? You build that brand, sometimes it can be a bit challenging, right? And I think when I came as well, there were just a handful of PR, I would say contemporary PR agencies in Nigeria then. That would be my issue. Then I think also the talent has always been an issue for me. Talent in the sense that bringing team members on that, it's more like a case of what you see versus what you get, right? People, they make up their they make up their CVs. Then when push comes to shove, it's more like you have to train and retrain people to get them to that position that you feel like that you want them to be. The other issue is after you've trained them, how do you then keep them? Because most people once they're good at what they're doing, they then want to move up to a different organization entirely. So I think those would be some of the challenges that I know we've faced over the years. And each time, for me, I love mentorship anyway, but sometimes you just want to make sure as you keep giving that you're getting back in return and you don't have to constantly, train people again and again. Yeah. Still see that? confirm you guys
Okay.
heard. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. Yes, I heard you. I heard you. And yeah, I can also relate with what you had said about the trust issues and the talents. They're actually major challenges that a lot of business owners deal with. And we'll get to that. But quickly, I want to ask Faith. Faith, when it comes to starting a PR business, what does starting really mean? Does it mean designing a logo? Or when you say you want to start a PR business, does it mean designing business cards? Or does it mean just creating an Instagram page? So when someone says, or when you are looking at starting a PR business, what does that starting really mean for you?
Okay, so I think it will be very hard to pinpoint a particular one thing that says you've started a PR company. I think there are a number of things that you need to do. And I know people who have been doing consultancy for some years and they haven't even registered their company. They don't even have a company name, right? But they are doing it and it all adds up to your experience. So for me, it's if you're starting a company, yes, when it comes to the business side of it, of course, one of the critical things you need to do is to register your company. But for some people, you can set up your social media pages, you can even have your website and all those things ready. But then officially, maybe it's when you start earning something from your company or from clients, that's where you can actually feel that you are actually running a business or you're actually working. But I don't think there's a specific but they all form parts of your brand assets, getting your logo, because once you set up your social media pages, you will need something for it. So of course, your name has to be available. You need to have your logo ready. You would have registered your company as well, because it's important, especially when you're even going to open a bank account, and so that funds can flow through your accounts. It's important because for company accounts, you need your business registration. But aside that, you may get away with some of the things, but setting up a social media is important. Having your logo and all those things are all important. But for me, I think most importantly is maybe when you start really being paid through your company, and that's how you feel that you've actually started something officially. But aside that, there's no specific structure to say start with. First, importantly, it's just that sometimes you may be sitting on the idea for so long. By the time you wake up one morning, somebody has the same idea, or somebody has even registered that same account with your social media, with their social media handle. So it's important that once you're conceptualizing what you want to do, if you plan to set up your business even in a year, it's okay to sort of register the account names down, and so that you can save them. And then later when you're ready to go all out, it's already available. By then, nobody has taken it. So those are the things I think I can also add to it.
Thank you very much, Faith. Thank you. Just one addition to that question is to also say that when it comes to starting a PR business, especially in today's landscape, what is the role of social media in terms of leveraging your social media platform? How does that help a new entrant to start a PR business?
I think it's the best thing you can ever have in this time. It's the best thing you can ever get. I always ask myself, maybe for some of us who, when I tell people I'm shy, they don't believe it. But for some of us, had it not been for social media, it would probably may have been difficult to walk to people and say, oh, I do PR, so please hire me or do this. But I remember my first client, she found me on social media because she was looking for a PR person. And by Googling and looking for a PR person, she found me, she reached out to me via Instagram. And then I gave her my email address, and then she sent me an email, and that's how I found my first client. So that's why I said, even though sometimes you may not have, over here in Ghana, it's a bit frustrating to even register your company. There's so many demands. And so it may take time and sometimes even money to do that. So social media is like the first thing you can look at, set up the pages, start creating content. Dr. Yetty talked about being a social media. When you start off, you have to learn all these things. You probably have to be putting together your own content, develop your own content, using Canva, of course, to create your own visuals and all that. And so creating content, putting your work out there, even sometimes, even if it's just about even providing tips or useful tips for people, there are great ways of introducing people to what you do. And you may never know, it's just a DM could just say, oh, hi, I've just been following your page and I'm looking for this. You've not even registered your company, but you can start doing a bit of freelance and consultancy here and there before you may have some money, register and start putting the structures in place. For so many years, I didn't even have an office. And I was working from my room. I just had an office, a desk and a chair. And nobody even knew about it because I had presence on social media. So you can't take that away. It's just the best thing that ever happened to us.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that, Faith. I mean, and there's a lot to take from there, which I also really agree with you, because when it comes to starting a PR business, there's no one size fits all. And it's really important for us to constantly leverage social media. I remember recently someone sent me a DM on my Instagram. And when I started engaging her, I think she had sent her email, then we started speaking via email, and I asked her to say, did she see what I was doing? And she had said something in the line of, this is a brand, that she actually thought my personal social media was a company. And so she was even engaging just a company, not even an individual. So that really speaks to how, when we are intentional with building our social platforms, how people can discover us. And you have actually led us to the next question. I wanted to ask Dr. Yetty first, but because you had spoken a bit into it, I will just quickly take it up from there, right? I was going to ask you to say, how did you get your first clients? And you had said that you were discovered via Google and the person reached out to you. So I just want you to speak to that. How was it like managing the first clients? I mean, my first PR engagement some years back, I think the client I charged 200,000 for a PR engagement. So it's really just say, how did it go for you in terms of charging? How did you navigate that terrain? Did you have a contract that they signed? Your bio, your company profile, your website, were they ready? What were some of the mistakes? I mean, it's really for us to learn from all of these things, and so that everyone on this call understands that, I mean, we are all together in this. So let's have a bit of insight into your first client's story. Thank you, Faith. Hello, Faith.
Oh, it's a question for me. Forgive me.
It's for you. Sorry, it's for you.
All this I was thinking was for Dr. Yetty. Pardon me. Sorry, you were asking about clients, if there was how my first client.
Yes.
Yeah, so like I said, it was more of social media, and I should also mention that when I had registered my company a year after university, even though I set up the pages and everything, I was already posting all that. But when I registered it, I was doing it more of like, it wasn't really running like a PR company. I was still doing it more like a freelance. And 3 years before I landed my first clients, 3 years. By that time too, I was actually working as an account manager for a PR agency here. So I was doing it a bit of a part-time alongside my full-time job, because I also realized that at some point I needed some more experience, and the opportunity came for me to get a job, a full-time job. So I took it up to go and get some experience there. So while I was there, I was working there full-time. I had the clients who had reached out, and I sneaked out lunchtime to go and have a meeting with the clients. At some point, it was becoming a bit difficult because agency work is madness, it's crazy, it's very busy. So it was tough trying to combine that. So one of my luck was that she was also somebody who understood that I was doing full-time, and so she was open to flexible meeting hours. So I remember there were times that I had to finish school, I had to close from work and schedule meetings like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. just to make time for us to strategize and put plans in place and all that. So it took me, I worked with her as on part-time basis for about a year and a half before I went full-time into running it, before I left the agency and started running it as well. So definitely I did have my, I looked online, I had some contracts, and at that time, so I was working in an agency. So I got access to some of these templates for like a contract or an MOU kind of thing, an agreement where you can sign with a potential clients and all that. So, and let me make this very clear. I was ready to learn and I was ready to make mistakes. I wasn't in for perfection from the beginning. So I knew very well that I didn't have a lot of the templates, a lot of the roadmap. So I was very open, and some way, somehow, even for myself, I had to tell myself that take it easy. So I'm sure I may have made some mistakes. Like, even I remember my pricing from the initial stages were not, later when I found out, I realized that I had shot myself in the foot. Some of them were extremely low. But I didn't dwell too much on it. I just quickly had to pick it up and move on because, of course, I didn't know. So why would I blame myself? There wasn't any template that says, if you have to charge somebody, this is how much you should look at. And so if you do something more below that, you're not doing the right thing. So I just was ready to learn, make mistakes, and pick it up. And that was it.
Amazing. I mean, that's so good. Thank you so much for that. And I like the fact that you also leveraged on the knowledge you are gleaning from the agency while you are working to also help you navigate and start off. That's so good. And the part of also ready to learn, ready to make mistakes. Because really, while we're starting out, it's okay to make some mistakes here and there and to quickly get up from that and adjust to it. So thank you very much, Faith. Dr. Yetty, I would like to ask you, very interesting question. Do you recall how much you made from your first job as a PR founder, Dr. Yetty? We would like to hear from you. Let us hear and discuss this together.
As a PR founder or as a communications director?
As a PR founder.
Okay. As a PR founder, I think by the time I started off the agency, I knew my worth, my value. Benchmarking, being a communications director at Africa Fashion Week, it wasn't like you're coming to try or test me. The proof was there, right? I'd had 3-4 successful runs of both Africa Fashion Week, London and Nigeria. So for me, I mean, I made a decent amount, and I think in 3 months after we had our first client, the first job we got after that was a charity, and we made our first million for that as an agency. And even with that, I feel like I underpriced ourselves, you understand? But for me, it also gave me, like I said, it gave me, because I came from a place of knowledge, it gave me an insight to what I can do. Unfortunately, like I said, when I came in, it was more like I had to learn a lot myself. I didn't have any agencies I worked with. It was more like my knowledge from being an inside person as a business owner, a creative person, then working for Africa Fashion Week. I'm going to keep referencing Africa Fashion Week because that was my journey to the PR world. So that would be, I'd reference that. I mean, it was less than 3 months of opening that we got the job to work with a charity, the foundation. Okay. Excuse me. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for that. So I would also like to add a question to further that. Looking at your journey, how did you then know when it was time to review your rates upwards? How did you navigate that?
Okay, so it's 2 things, right? I felt like, because I do a yearly review as a person and as a business owner, where, I started realizing that we're offering so much for not so, I mean, when compared to our colleagues, then they were charging quite a lot, and they were delivering, their deliverables were quite minute. So I think for me, it was 2 things. Every year we would have to look through our offerings, what we offer, as we don't have a package, by the way. We had a package for so many years, but later I decided, no, we're not a generic PR agency. We work based on the brief that the client has given to us, because everybody's needs are quite different. So that way, we are able to segment, each needs for each client, then evaluate in terms of how much we charge, and that is reasonable. The amount we charge an SME is going to be different from the amount we charge a corporate body, right? So each year for us, after 2 years, we had to start, reviewing based on even the social environment as well, what is going on, do you understand, in terms of a lot of things. So every year we review. Sometimes we don't change, right? Because there's the empathy bit. We're not a money-driven agency, so I have to say that as well, just in case some people may, we are not money, we are more or less a result-driven agency. So we tend to put our feet in the shoes of our clients, right? If you're SMEs, I understand you have a lot of overheads every month. And because we are mostly on retainership with all our clients, we need to make sure they are in a place where they can pay us monthly. Some years, when we first started, because I'm possibly not the best person when it comes to money, I've had to write so many of unpaid money from some certain client. So but I made it like we have to work in a way that the client gets the value. We're not overcharging them as well, right? And we can safely say that nobody's owing us money anymore.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Quickly, we would like to take questions. We can take 2 or 3 questions right now before we ask our speakers more questions. So if you have a question to ask any of our speakers, you can please unmute, introduce yourself and ask the question. You can also drop your questions in the chat box. It would also be nice for you to introduce yourself in the chat box before you drop your questions.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name is Bola Joinda Molatinambo. So I work with Lagos State Parks for quite numbers of years. And I've also started my own PR firm, like a communication firm called Resolve and Resolute Limited. So it's on our platform. So basically, when I saw the poster, I was so much interested in it because I have a feeling that this will answer many of my questions that I would like to ask. First of all, looking at the environment, Dr. Yetty is in UK, Madam Faith, she's in Ghana. Looking at the Nigerian environment, the process is quite different.
I'm in Nigeria. I've been in Nigeria for years.
I thought you were outside the country. So yes, like she said, I've listened to everything and looking at it, for my own personal business, I've not been in the corporate communication space, like in the so-called corporate communication space. What I've done over the years, in the last 8 years, is basically acquiring certificates, going for trainings to be a seasoned PR person. Because in my place of work, there is no place for PR to thrive. So looking outward, I don't feel like I got to a point, I feel like, okay, this is what I really want to do because I'm so passionate about PR. I personally feel like there is no problem that PR cannot solve. That's the mindset that I have. Because I feel like it's all about dialogue. And PR is all about how you express yourself, the tone, the emotions, the way you create and all of that. So my point now is I've done a lot in terms of having all the required certificates within the country, NIPR, having a master's in communication.
Yes, so please, can we know your exact question?
Yes, the exact question is, how can you, I have it, so I find it difficult in getting clients, yes. That's my question. Have a difficulty in getting clients, in convincing people, because I'm not from the corporate world. I have it so difficult in convincing people that yes, I can do this. And this is something I've been pushing for the last 3 years, and yet it feels like it's not fruitful. Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, thank you. Faith, please, can you quickly help us speak to that question?
Okay. The name is Bolaji, right? I hope I got it right. If I get you, I'm sure you, if you were from the beginning, you would have realized that for someone like me, I also started without much experience. Okay. And yes, it was difficult, but the question you need to ask yourself is, which part, and right now, one of the key things that you can also use to break into the PR industry is to niche down. Okay, you are going to be competing with a lot of big companies. So what exactly, who do you want to service? Which industry? Maybe you want to identify if it's in the tech industry, if it's in the consumer industry, if it's in the PR, is the fashion industry, if it's in the beauty industry. Identify a particular industry you want to be in. Okay. If there's somebody there and there are some people who are doing same, like I said, in the fashion industry at that time, it wasn't possible to approach a very big company and say, hi, I want to do PR for you. They won't even mind you. So approach a smaller person. And even if it's right now, maybe if they are a little big, you can say maybe they can even give you some money, some amount. It doesn't have to be, don't look at what the big companies are doing. Do something, tell them maybe they can pay you something so that you can use it to test yourself and gain some experience. Once you're able to have something to show, some track record, you can now start building yourself up and approaching, and then referrals will come in. Because you've done it for one person, it's easier for the person to say, oh, I work with this girl, she's very good, she's been helping with my PR work. Can you reach her? A lot of the time, some of the jobs I get is because some of my clients refer me to them when they need something. Okay, so please start from somewhere. Sit down and write down where exactly in PR. It's very broad. You can't just be having education and all the certificates without really knowing what exactly you want to do. If not, you can also take up internship opportunities, volunteer with organizations. Nigerian Women in PR is there. Volunteer to get some hands-on experience. There are other companies in Nigeria. You can do internship with them. You can do so many things so that you can also gain some experience. That way, now you can have something to show for it. And then it's easier for you to now approach maybe established companies and pitch for jobs.
Thank you so much for that, Faith. I totally agree with you. So Bolaji, there you go. So let's hear from Bibi and AJ. Let's hear your question. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you very much. My name is Bibi and AJ. I recently finally launched a PR agency after working in an agency for about 3 years. Basically, I've had almost 7 years experience so far in PR. I think my question, Faith had hinted on it a little, but then I want to ask a question relating to that. You talked about niching down. Now, as a business, one core function is driving revenue. It's the one way that you would stay in business, right? What happens when you are trying to niche down in the very beginning stage and you have different people then approach you who are not exactly in the niche you have in your head? Do you turn down those businesses, or how would you go about it? I think that's my question.
Okay, thank you, Bibi. I think Faith, you're also appropriate to answer this question. Thank you.
I don't believe in turning down clients, but you can if you know you don't have the technical know-how to do it. Don't go embarrass yourself. One of the things about PR, and I always, like I said, I like people to specialize, is that every industry has its language. Every industry has its stakeholders. If you don't have the experience in that sector, imagine if I'm not into the mining sector and there's a job, there's a PR brief that has been brought to me to handle PR, unless I am sure I can get the people to work with, I would rather recommend it to a friend and probably be like a support person to do the job. That way I can also learn from it. I don't think that it's important is for you to look at it from this way. I want the money. So once I'm being approached, I'll do it, because you need to do a good job to get your next job. So in as much as I'm saying niche down, and then sometimes you look at the industry and ask yourself, is that money? Some people may not pay you so well. So you go and take an industry and there's no money and they're not getting clients, but there's another job that is coming from another industry. If you can do it, because for instance, if you need to write a press release and you don't understand the language, you can't use the language to put it together well. If you don't know who they want you to put together like a campaign, and you need to propose some influencers in that industry, and you don't really understand, you don't know what happens in that industry, how are you going to do that? So at the end of the day, you may not do a good job, right? So that's why it's also important that while you're building yourself in a PR industry, have a network, build a community. That's why we have, thankfully today, we have all these industry bodies. So you know colleagues in that industry who may be doing something in mining. So if there's an opportunity like this for you to do, you could reach out to the person, maybe do it like a 50-50 or whatever, let there be understanding. So the person can lead us because they have the experience. And then based on that, you can also gain some experience. And then maybe when the next one comes in, you can take it up. So because for me, it's important that you do a good job so that at the end of the day, you are looking for the next job.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Faith. I would just like to quickly say right now that the Nigerian Women in PR has a robust training coming up, a paid training for everyone who would like to start a PR business. So consider all that we are doing here today as conversation, storytelling to just help you begin to build your interest. But for a more in-depth and thorough hand-holding process, you want to follow Nigerian Women in PR on Instagram. If you also check the chat section, there's a link to register to know more about the paid training. It comes up in the next 2 months thereabouts, and you will definitely get more information about this. Let's quickly take one more question from Jennifer Eze before we continue this webinar. Jennifer Eze, let's quickly hear from you.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I just want to, I'll be brief. So I've been doing PR for the past, I would say 5 years. I started as an intern in a newspaper company, but the thing is, but the thing is, I have the experience. I've been able to work in the field. I've been able to, do the work. But when it comes to getting some kind of jobs, some kind of contract, they demand to see like professional certifications or something that has been done to prove that you actually know how to do this thing. So I know I have my portfolio. I know I have a few connections in the industry. But when it comes to those certifications, although I'm planning to do a master's in communication like soon, but I'm talking about like smaller certifications that I can easily like jump on and get value for that. I think that's just the question I want to ask. So if you can help me with some certifications or some courses, anything that that is an educational resource that I can do and show as proof that I do know what I'm doing. It's not just only experience.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Dr. Yetty, please speak to Jennifer's question.
Okay, I'm going to speak to Jennifer's question, then also Jumoke's question, right? In my whole, 10, 12 years of doing PR, nobody has ever asked me for my certification. And that's because, I feel like once you're doing what you need to do, you're positioning yourself, I don't think that should come to light, right? However, there's so many certification. For one, I believe in improving, right? There's Oxford School of Marketing that I'm actually currently doing a leadership course in it. There's so many marketing platforms, and I'm sure Nigerian Women in PR would also maybe share some platforms you can use as well. So, but I can categorically tell you that no single client has ever asked me for my certification. Maybe if you're entering maybe grant or something, like they may ask you for your certification, but professionally in terms of workspace, none. Then I'll question. Sorry. Can you find that question?
Jumoke, are you on the call? You can also unmute yourself and ask your question. Jumoke, can't see your question.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Yetty. Hi, thank you so much for this Nigerian Women in PR. So my question was to Dr. Yetty, and I asked that, seeing that when she started, right, she stumbled on PR as the communication manager at African Fashion Week London. What else did she do to develop herself, seeing that she wasn't experienced, she didn't have the certifications or the training? What did she do to develop herself such that she was confident in starting her own PR business? What else did she do?
Okay, thank you for your question.
Yeah. So Jumoke, I mean, Paro, if you listen to what I said, from the onset, I've always been hands-on, right? Meaning I had to do a lot of research, in terms of PR outside this country. So when I came into this country, one of the first thing I did when I started Africa, working with as a communications director, was to build relationship with the media people. In this industry, gold coin is your relationship. Trust me. If there's no PR company or media platform that I know somebody, that I don't know somebody there, that would be the right word. So if I give anybody a call, there is no way they won't, answer me. Also, I have the skill. It's a better skill that I know, okay, when you approach these people, you have to give them some fun. And it's not all the time it has to do with money. So for me, I really built my PR agency on relationship with journalists, relationship with media practitioners, relationship with my peers as well. I mean, a lot of my colleagues, I can start mentioning their names, are my good friends. So when I stop from them, they come to me. When they stop from me, they come to me. And it's all the time you have to put competition into it. There's room for everybody to grow, right? You just need to understand your strength and also collaborate with people. So for me, the ability to collaborate with people and building relationship really helped me. I'm also someone that believes in development. So I do a lot of short courses, long courses. I had my master's, a PhD in public relations as well, in the past couple of years. So constantly developing yourself and building relationship. Those are the key things for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Yetty. So you have to, develop yourself, build relationships. You can't take away the fact that you have to build relationships, you have to collaborate. Thank you. We'll ask our speakers 2 more questions, then we'll come back to the chat and to take some more questions. So just keep dropping your questions in the chat box and we'll come to it. So Dr. Yetty, I would like to ask you, when we talk about financial management, how do you even know how to build? That's us looking back, casting our minds back to years ago when you even started and trying to relate it to a day-to-day to say, how do you know how much to build? How should a founder manage and allocate funds as well? Then how do we even know if we are making a profit? At what point did you know you are making a profit? So all things financial management. How do we know what to bill a client? How do we know how to allocate funds as a PR founder? And at what point do we know that we are now making a profit? Thank you.
Thank you. For me, I tell people, my core, right? You also need to understand your strengths. This is what I just said. The first thing I did, after 2 months, was to have the business partner who is an accountant. That's his profession. I could not afford to pay him, but I built that relationship that he's able to sort out the finances of the business because of where I'm from, I understand management of money is quite imperative in having a sustainable business, right? So for me, having a partner, there's a way, like I said, barter for me is a key thing for me. That is the strength. So the first thing I did then was to have him on board to manage the affairs in terms of the financial bits of the business. In terms of knowing how much to charge, I think with time, you start to, I wouldn't say I've gotten it right now, but you start to understand your value based on even comments some clients will make, right? They will say, they reach out to the certain other PR agencies, they're charging them so amount. You start thinking, okay. For me, also having insiders to know what is going on around, very, very key, so that you don't keep undercharging yourself. Like I said, the first few years of the agency, we're giving so much more than what we're getting back. So then it starts to become, you start to resent, okay, why am I doing this? I'm not getting profit. You have bills to pay, you have salaries to pay, you have a lot of things to put into consideration, especially for those that own agencies that they have a lot of people that they're paying, they have their overheads, they have rents to pay. You have to consolidate everything, then know, okay, within that space, how much do you charge one person for retainership? And like I said, you have to gauge it the same. I'm not charging a corporate body the same amount I'm charging an individual or a startup business. I'm not going to give them the same offering as well. So it's imperative to, for me, my advice would always be, just get the professional. Even if you have to do a barter, you pay some certain amounts every month. It's key to have, some certain things. If you have an agency, not as an individual now, if you have an agency, to just have key people within your organization.
Thank you very much. So at what point did you know you were making a profit from funds that were coming in and were able to separate to say, okay, this is total revenue, but this is profit that comes to us?
Okay, I think at the second to the third year would be it. Because when for me, when money comes in, you don't really, like I said, math is not my forte. I don't really, you don't really pay attention. It's when you're doing your auditing, then you're saying, okay, you didn't do so bad. So I think about the third year we're doing okay. And mind you as well.
Oh, no.
I was lucky in my landing to setting up the business. Like I said, my first office was my friend's BQ. I didn't have to pay for it. Do you understand? I transformed it with the monies we got in for the first couple of months to refurbish the old space, but I didn't have to pay for rent. So there's so many things that you can do to make sure your overhead comes down. You're spending so little, and you're able to make profit, and also to expand, as well as making sure. For me, I tell my team, right? I always make sure that I do the needful by them. So they may start little, but as they come in, as you're expanding, you make sure you're also looking at, salaries of your workforce, so making sure it's been improved, and you can have longevity in terms of your talents as well.
Thank you very much. Those are amazing points. I want to believe that we are all jotting down, we're taking notes, and we are having actionable insights. Thank you, Dr. Yetty. Faith, I have another interesting question for you. So I would say that at what point, really, when it comes to starting, the transition from starting to building, because no one must, start before you build. So we can say Mr. A has started, but when it's time to build, how do you begin to transition from starting to building? What are the intricacies inside of that? What are even the differences when you now say, I am building, I have moved from starting, I am now building? What are the things that we should look out for and that you also worked with?
Yeah, so I think for every business, there's a phase, and it would also be determined by the kind of clients you get, how much you're making. Like Dr. Yetty said, sometimes you can weigh in all these things and you know, okay, if I'm making this much money, it means that I can move to the next phase. Maybe if you started off as one person and you're doing it and you're earning this amount of money, you're probably doing it in your small room somewhere or in a friend's house. Then maybe you've started it for a while, and then the next phase you want to do is to move to another phase, which is to get more people. But you don't rush by just bringing a lot of people. Maybe you can say, okay, what are the needs of the company? What do I need? Maybe I need more, maybe somebody who has more knowledge in more writing, maybe I need somebody to handle our graphics. Maybe I need an accountant. Maybe I need this person. So you can look at your priorities, those ones that you personally cannot do, or those ones that you know as an individual, you may not have all the skills, right? So you look at your needs of organization, and then based on that, you can jump to the next phase and say, okay, let me get this 1 or 2 or 3 people. Also depends on how much you're making, because if you start hiring people, if you're in a rush, get people to join you, it means you need to pay them. And when you start paying people and you don't have enough money, you might crash and people will end up leaving. So be very gradual in your needs as an organization and take it from one phase to the other. So if you identify the needs of your organization, you say, okay, maybe this company, at this point, I need a writer. I need somebody who has strong, maybe I'll be doing this, so I need somebody else who can also handle that. Somebody who can handle events aspect of it. You're bringing that person, maybe you wanted to branch a little into web because you can make some money from it. So you hire this person. And then now for about a couple of years, when you see that things are a bit steady in terms of the finances, there are no losses, then now you can move to another phase, which is more of an expansion, if you are getting more extra hands. And also maybe also the demand. One of my rules is I don't like to go in for things that I cannot do. So for instance, if there's a job and I know I don't have the skills, I'll probably give it to somebody else or ask somebody else to join me. So you go and pitch for a job and you have the job and now you don't have the people to do it, right? But sometimes if there's enough time, you can quickly turn around, hire people. But I think for you to know which phase, there's no standard. There are people who started their company like 2-3 years and they're hitting triple figures and all that. Right? There are some people who start 5 years, 10 years before they really start seeing results. So it's yourself, it's the growth you want to go through, and it's how much you can do and what comes in at the end of the day. If at the end of the day, you're able to pay yourself and you're able to pay people to keep them, because if you're not able to keep them, if you're not able to pay them as well, they'll leave you. Yeah. In this era, people are not loyal like that. They will not really sacrifice and be with you because they believe in the dream. No, they want the money. So if you're not able to pay them well, they will leave you. So I think you need to factor all these things in before you see yourself from the growing stage to the scale. Because I know there are PR companies that are like, they have about 7, 8, 10 accounts, 10 clients. And maybe 5 or 6 of them are multinational. So you can imagine that's a big company. You can compare that to maybe you have about 2 or 3 clients. Okay, so you need to understand your dynamics and don't always be looking at what the bigger people are doing. You can look at it and let it inspire you and then put together what you also need to grow. And then when it gets to the point where you know you've arrived, I'm sure you feel it because it will show in your accounts.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that, Faith. And I would just like to say that we are getting closer to rounding up this webinar. We're just going to ask one more round of questions, and then we'll take questions from the chat section. So I would like to ask you again, Faith, before I release you, to say that what would you say is the place of regional collaboration for PR businesses who want to scale? How can they leverage PR regional collaborations? Speaking from your experience.
Okay. So I believe that over the years, I think one of the closest people I've worked with is in Nigeria and in South Africa. And based on projects that they've probably, sometimes you want to do something, maybe you have a client, like I have a Ghanaian who is going to South Africa and wants to do something. And this is where Dr. Yetty also talked about relationship, building community and building relationship is important. And if you have people that you know, other colleagues that you know in a country, and you don't have the footprint there, I don't think it would probably cost you more to try and go there and set up. It might take even more time. So it's important that you build relationship that you can also leverage on. So if you have other colleagues in Nigeria, and there's a project that I have a client here who's coming to Nigeria and has to do something there, it's great to foster that relationship where you can say, oh, hi, my client is coming here, we want to work on this. Can you come on board and let's work together? And I've had opportunity to work with people in Nigeria and South Africa, and it's been great. But most of the time, it's based on relationship. It's difficult to randomly pick somebody and say, I'm sending you this. It's a period, and some of these people I have never met. Some of them, over time, I got to meet them through all this various platforms like Women in PR Ghana and other things. So for me, it's more important to build relationship and use those as and when they come. Don't always try and do everything yourself. I've also sat here and I've had colleagues, industry colleagues in Nigeria, requesting that I handle projects for them here.
Okay.
Without them having to come here. And it's vice versa. We do that. So for me, it's more of take your relationship building seriously, leverage on all these platforms that are created today and know people so that you can also stay top of mind. Because sometimes opportunities can pass you by because people are not thinking about you. But if they know you exist and there's an opportunity and you come top of mind, you'll be the first person they'll be reaching out to.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Faith. Dr. Yetty, I have a very important question that would be nice for you to speak to, even as we are getting ready to round up, is to say that what is your approach to clients acquisition and retention as a PR founder, and so for other PR owners to glean from?
Yeah. Okay. For us, it's more like I tell my team, like, as much as we have, several accounts, we need to make sure that each client feels as though they're the only clients we have. So we have that deep relationship. I have deep relationship with my clients to a certain level that, to be honest, they are our chief marketers. A lot of 90% of our clients come from referrals, meaning they refer us. We're lucky to have that people keep referring us to, new clients. But for me, it's making sure you listen. We'll listen to our clients. We try. Yes, sometimes you have hiccups, but there's a reason why they hired you. You're the professional. Sometimes clients think they know what they want, but because you're the professional, it might be a bit tasking. But as long as you deliver on the job, you build that relationship. You're not making your client feel like, oh, I have 3 other clients, I have 4 other clients. Then that way they would start feeling like you're not prioritizing them. So for our clients, priority and making them feel like they are the only clients we have is key. Yes, it would mean like you're having to work around the clock sometimes, but you have to know what works for you. For example, I suffer from insomnia, right? I have a manager that manages the agency. I have key people that are, they have their accounts they manage. So even if I'm not available, somebody is available to liaise with the clients. Maybe when things need to be escalated, they reach out to me. But making your client feel as though they're the only client is very key. Prioritizing each of your clients. If you feel like you don't have enough hands, don't take too much on. But by the time you start taking much more, know to when, to increase your talents that could make sure that you can cover all your clients' needs, especially in PR. They need to, PR for me, and I say this to people, it's a fast-paced environment. You can't have, your client cannot be calling you and you're not available, because things may happen whilst you're sleeping and needs to be rectified. So for me, I don't have a closing hour officially. Unofficially, I would say officially I have a closing hour. Unofficially, I don't have. I'm easily accessible to my clients, because if they need advice regarding certain things, you will be the first person they reach out to in terms of navigating some certain areas in their business. So you being in a space where they can trust you enough to open up to you with certain things is very key in terms of the PR space. So
Thank you so much for that. We have a feedback form. Please click on the link to fill the feedback form. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. A final question for Dr. Yetty is to say that if you were to advise your younger self when you started, what would you say to her?
What would I say to her?
Yes, as a PR founder.
As a PR founder, what did I say to her? It's valuing yourself, knowing your worth, right? Yeah. I think remember I said I undervalued a lot of things that I did. It's later on, maybe 3 years later, that I will go back and see what we've done. Like, oh, did we truly achieve this? And we got this for this. It's understanding your value and not apologizing for who you are as a talent person, creating other people's brand. For me, is to value myself. Value myself is key.
Thank you so much for that. Let's quickly take 2 or 3 more questions as we round up. Lola Aloba, you can please unmute and let's have your question.
Good evening, everyone. I actually dropped my message and my question in the chat box, but since I've been given the opportunity, let me throw in the question. I'm totally new to PR as a career, all the while I've been in the banking sector. So I had to, since I got an interest in it, I had to spend some time reading, and it's actually a good platform for me to hear everyone talking and listening. So Dr. Yetty, please, the first question I dropped was, as someone into the fashion world as a PR, what are those services you offer? The services you give as a fashion PR?
Okay, for fashion PR, to be honest, we offer in terms of, depending on the client, not to generalize, on behalf of maybe is to create visibility in sense of get them out there. Like, I know a lot of people use influencers now, but if there's certain things that you can do with some certain media platforms that can actually bring a lot of visibility for your fashion client. So it will be lookbook management. I'm careful what I'm saying, because I know my own scope is more than just a PR, because I'm a creative person as well. So there's some certain elements that I will do for my client that I won't necessarily say that should be right for fashion client. So I would say pushing out their lookbook, getting together their EPKs, that's their electronic getting EPK, the profile, the brand Bible for the fashion company together. Then also, what we also do is positioning them in platforms like, I wouldn't want to mention some platforms that you would think, okay, at some certain level, the fashion company can start showcasing in different platforms for fashion designers. So there's so many elements to it.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Dr. Yetty. Thank you, Faith, for all of the insights and the conversations we've had this evening. I will call on Tolulope Olorundero, the founder of Nigerian Women in PR, to tell us one or two things and close this webinar for us. Thank you so much. Tolulope, please.
Thank you so much, Toyosi, for a fantastic job moderating today's session. Thank you, Dr. Yetty and Faith, for sharing your experience. One of the things that Nigerian Women in PR is passionate about is ensuring that as much as possible, we have enough people, enough experienced public relations women share the story of their growth so that we can encourage and inspire those who are coming up to be able to replicate the success that we've had over the years. Nigerian Women in PR is an impactful cost professional membership organization for women practicing public relations across the world. If you're a woman, you're Nigerian, and you're practicing PR, Nigerian Women in PR is home for you. So please join us, register via the link that we've been sharing in the comment section. You can also join us as a registered member or a premium member of the organization. The information and benefits for each membership category is also available on our website. Please check. Like Toyosi has been saying, this webinar this afternoon is a precursor to a full paid training session on the same topic. That will happen in the coming weeks. To indicate interest in that training, we've also shared the links in the comment section. Please fill the form so that you can get the information. It's going to be a curated training. There are very, very limited seats to ensure that we have a one-on-one interaction with each person who registers for that training. So please register for it, and then of course look out for our other events throughout the year. We want to thank Africa Communications Week for collaborating with us to deliver this event. We want to thank especially all our non-Nigerian friends and PR colleagues who registered and joined this session. Thank you so much. The full video will be up on our YouTube channel before the end of the week, and you'll have access to replay this and listen to it again and again. Thank you all so much for joining. Please have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. You can also tweet your questions at Nigerian Women in PR on Instagram and Twitter, and look out for Nigerian Women in PR on YouTube for the link to watch the recording later this week. Thank you and have a great weekend. I'm sorry, have a great rest of the week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.